According to the National Assessment of Educational Progress, US students have suffered a record drop in their math scores. Now, many experts say that the 2 years of COVID disruptions are to blame for this. But in my opinion, everyone would do better if the smart kids would just stop hiding their answers. Yeah! Loosen up, Angela, we get it, you study. Open it up. And I know this is distressing news for all the parents out there, but just remember, this is the best time to cheat your kids out of their allowance. They won't know the difference. Yeah, 5 plus 2, yeah, that's what you get, that's 10. Meanwhile, in San Francisco, officials are coming under fire after it came out that a new public toilet that is being built in a popular tourist spot will cost the city $1.7 million. A single public toilet. Yeah, now, before you complain, remember this toilet's going to be top of the line. The seat will come pre-peed on, and the graffiti on the walls will be written by George R.R. Martin. Wow! Oh, in sports news, the Houston Astros swept the Yankees to win a spot in the World Series. And attending the game, oh, you're going to save those boos, because attending the game in New York was Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Yeah, who was greeted by Yankee fans just like that. Yeah, there were a lot of boos, a lot of extended middle fingers, which at this point, people, why does anyone bother? Ted Cruz sees those so often, he may not even be offended, right? He might just think that's how people wave now, just like, hi, hello, how are you? Hello, hi, Ted Cruz. All right, let's move on to some of the biggest stories of the day. You know, with food prices going up, gas prices going up, and war crippling Europe, it may be easy to get distracted by short-term problems and lose sight of the long-term problems that'll actually kill us all. Which is why climate activists are going to extreme measures to get our attention.
Another act of food-infused art vandalism, this time with mashed potatoes. That's right. Climate change activists tossed potatoes onto a Claude Monet painting at a German museum. Look at this. Officials there say the painting, it wasn't damaged and that it's covered by glass. Last week, activists threw tomato soup onto Vincent van Gogh's sunflowers at the National Gallery in London. There was some minor damage to the frame, but the painting was unharmed. And in both cases, activists then glued their hands to the wall.
Yeah. Increasingly around the world, climate change activists are vandalizing famous art to bring attention to climate change. First, they splashed food on a Van Gogh. Now a Monet. They also hit a Jackson Pollock, but no one noticed. And as much as I agree with the message, I don't know if a museum is the right place to do this. Oh, because think about it, if you protest in the streets, everyone knows it's a protest. But if anything happens in a museum, half the people are just going to think it's part of the art, you know? Yeah, you could be in front of a painting like, I'm having a heart attack. They'll be like, oh, very powerful, very powerful. No, help me. Ah, yes, the cry for help we all feel in the modern world. Bravo, bravo. Also, I feel like at this point, the problem with climate change isn't a lack of awareness. Right? It's more the fact that a ton of people just don't give a shit. And I stand to be corrected. But I just don't think that those people who don't care about climate change care about fancy art. You know, I doubt your MAGA uncle is going to be like, no, not Monet's water lilies, no! All right, you win. You can tax carbon. I agree with you. You know, if anything, these protests might bring more publicity to the art than to climate change. Yeah. Like, you tell me, when was the last time you thought about Monet? And sex dreams don't count. Like, if I was a painting in a museum right now, I would be begging. I'd be begging to get some food thrown on me. Oh, look! Someone's walking up to us right now with a giant bowl of pudding. This could be our big break. Oh, the pudding is... Oh, no, wait, they're just eating it. What the hell, man? Weird snack to bring to a museum. Oh, come on, people, I want to go viral. Somebody throw some food at me. You know who I hate? The polar bears. I hate them bunch of coke-drinking losers. They deserve to die. Nothing? All right, forget it. I guess back to staring at people's butts all day. Oh, that's a nice butt. Look at that one. Look at that one. Oh. All right. Let's make like America's money and move on to China. Over the last decade, Xi Jinping has gradually taken full control of the Chinese Communist Party. He's put his people in all of the top positions, he's pushed out all of his top rivals, and he is the sole owner of the password for the country's Netflix account. Yeah. So no one in China can watch Dharma without him. He's like, no, don't watch without me. That's one of our shows together. They're like, these are all our shows together. We're communists. Anyway, over the weekend, President Xi was formally re-upped as communist leader of the party, right? That's what he was. For an unprecedented third term, which means he will rule over the nation of 1.4 billion people for at least another 5 years. And if anyone doubts at how powerful Xi Jinping has become, just look at how he treated China's previous leader.
China's leader Xi Jinping is beginning an historic third term in office after being anointed again as the head of the country's Communist Party. But there was an unexpected twist in the normally highly choreographed Chinese National Congress over the weekend when his predecessor was escorted off the stage.
Two aides appear to remove Xi Jinping's predecessor Hu Jintao from the front row. Hu appears confused, even to resist, while Xi Jinping shows zero sympathy. Was the 79-year-old Hu unwell, or was it some kind of political power play? We'll probably never know, as the incident has already been scrubbed from Chinese TV and social media.
God damn. Yeah. Scrubbed from social media and TV. And did you see that? They picked that old man out and just escorted him. They just escorted him out like he was Kanye at a bar mitzvah. And did you see Xi Jinping? What's even wild, he's just sitting there like he can't do anything. Like the old man taps him like, hey, Xi, you're gonna do it. He's the most powerful person in China. And he's like, sorry, there must be some rule or something. I'm new here, I don't know, I can't help you. I can't do anything. I don't even know what this means. Was it supposed to send a message? Was it not? Because if it did, I don't think it worked. Because nobody knows what happened, right? They either took this guy away as some kind of power grab, or because he just had one too many island iced teas. We don't know, right? Who knows? I mean, I guess we do know that it didn't go according to plan because they scrubbed all the video of it from the internet. They wouldn't do that if they wanted people to see it, you know? It's like your browser history. Yeah, nobody's clearing it because they donated to charity. You know, no one's like, I can't let my wife see what a good person I am. I can't. So yeah, this is a weird, opaque story that has left everyone guessing. And I guess the only question I have is, can we hire those guys for whenever Joe Biden starts rambling in a speech? Can we, you know, just to bring them in? He's like, I passed the student bill debt with 50 and 100,000 and 56,000 and 150. Okay, sir, come on with us. Come on. Let's take him to where we hide Kamala. Come on, let's go. All right, finally. Let's move on from China to a country where the leadership situation is a little less secure. Great Britain. Last week, Liz Truss announced after just 44 days in office, she would be stepping down as Prime Minister so she could move on to becoming that person who everyone recognizes but they can't quite remember from where. They're like, did we go to high school? Oh, you were the Prime Minister! Oh, so sorry about that. Anyway, can I have 2 large popcorns, please? And anyway, Liz Truss is gone. And it looks like the UK's got a brand new man.
We begin in the United Kingdom, which is about to get its third prime minister in less than 2 months. Just a short time ago, the ruling Conservative Party announced that former Finance Minister Rishi Sunak won the race to become party leader and prime minister.
Rishi Sunak will become this country's first ever prime minister of colour, first ever Asian prime minister, and first ever Hindu prime minister.
Rishi Sunak, not only the first person of colour to walk through 10 Downing, also the youngest prime minister here in about 2 centuries. Really a historic day.
A former investment banker, he and his wife are reported to be among the country's richest people.
It is the greatest privilege of my life to be able to serve the party I love and give back to the country I owe so much to.
Yeah, that's right. The UK's new Prime Minister is former Finance Minister Rishi Sunak. And he's Indian, he's Hindu, and he's only 42 years old, which means he will probably serve well into his 42 and a halves. Easily. And let's not forget another important first. He's also the first prime minister who's an absolute snack. Yeah. Oh, look at you, Rishi. And before you're thinking, oh, is he? Don't forget who came before. Don't forget. We're moving on up. Now, of course, not everyone in the UK is happy about Rishi Sunak taking the top spot and making history. And it's not because of his policies or because of his personality. No, there are some people who have a problem with something else, as this caller to a British radio show so eloquently explained.
Is the real problem here, Jerry, that Rishi Sunak is a brown man and you don't trust him at the top of this country?
Well, could you imagine him going to the Scottish Nationalists and being the Prime Minister of the Scottish Nationalists? Could you imagine me becoming the Prime Minister of Pakistan or Saudi Arabia? No, these things matter. I'm sorry you don't like it, but this is predominantly, we're talking about England, right? 85% of the English people, yes, are white English people, and they want to see a Prime Minister that reflects them.
Yeah, this guy has a good point. Can you imagine if white English people wanted to rule countries where no one looked like them? Oh, that would never happen. Can you imagine that world? What would that world be like? Now, you know what's so funny to me? It's funny how racists always say, oh, colonization was fine. It was business. Until they feel like they're being colonized. Then all of a sudden it's like, something needs to be done. Something needs to be done. You're not even being colonized. The guy is British. What's wrong with you? You know, if you ask me, British racists are looking at this whole thing all wrong. This could be a good thing for you people. After 400 years, you'll finally get to legitimately blame a brown person for your country's problems. You're living your dreams. Wake up. I mean, there is a part of me. There's a part of me that feels a little bad for England's racists. No, because remember, they voted for Brexit specifically to keep Britain white. And that vote started a 7-year chain of dominoes that has now led directly to an Indian Prime Minister. They're probably like, oh, this is certainly a rich irony at my expense, isn't it? Yeah. And here's the thing, keep in mind, this caller even says that he is Tory. So this is the same party as Rishi Sunak, right? Which means they probably agree on all the same policies. He just doesn't like that he's not white, which I don't understand. I truly don't understand. What are you scared of? Huh? What is this caller scared of? Does he think Sunak is going to walk up to the podium on his first day in office and be like, it is the greatest privilege of my life to be able to give back to the country I owe so much to, and to show my gratitude, I just want to say, I'm selling the entire country to India. That's right, revenge time, you bastards. This was the plan the whole time. Happy Diwali, mother bitches. It's not going to happen, you racists. Adidas has officially ended its partnership with Kanye West after public outcry over his numerous anti-Semitic remarks. But good news, you can still get a pair of Yeezys. You just have to take a normal pair of sneakers and microwave them for 30 minutes. In environmental news, a new study by Greenpeace USA has declared plastic recycling as a failed concept, saying that only 5% of plastic waste was actually recycled last year. Yeah, and I can't wait to tell this to those people who always get mad at me for not putting my plastic in the recycler. Oh, you didn't unscrew the thing. You didn't unscrew. Yeah, this is why I didn't do it. I mean, I didn't know that at the time. I was just being lazy. But this is why I did it, for the future. But you realize what the solution is here, right? We need to stop using single-use plastic. We just need to stop using it. And not as people, it needs to be banned from the top. No more plastic water bottles. We all do it. I do it. We all do it. No more. We need to be drinking out of materials that are easier to reuse, like glass or tin or the skulls of our enemies. Yeah, our ancestors knew what they were doing. I have thirst. Bring me the skull of Jehoshaphat. Unless my Garfield mug is clean. Is the Garfield mug clean? No? Then bring me the skull of Jehoshaphat. In fast food news, McDonald's has announced that they're once again bringing back the McRib, but this time they claim it could be the last time ever. Which is shocking to me. I never thought people who eat the McRib would outlast the McRib. Wow, you learn something new every day. All right, let's turn to the big news of the day. It's about the midterm elections. You know, that all-important day in November where you vote for a senator or a congressman and then a bunch of positions you're not even really sure are real. But this November, there's one governor's race that could change things, not just for their state, but for everyone. And I'm talking about Arizona. It's the state for people who like Texas, but wish it had more scorpions and old people. Right now, in Arizona, Republican Kari Lake is in a neck-and-neck race against Democrat Katie Hobbs. And if Lake wins, it could change the course of American democracy itself. So, let's get to know her better in our latest installment of Fringe Watching. Meet Kari Lake, candidate for Arizona governor and boss who's going to send you back to Starbucks until you learn the difference between a flat white and a latte, you moron! Of all the newcomers to MAGA politics, Kari Lake is making the biggest waves. She defeated a mainstream Republican in the primaries. She's endorsed by Donald Trump himself, right? And she insists on saying Merry Christmas even in July. And every time she opens her mouth, every single time she speaks, you can see why the Trump crowd loves her.
As governor, I will issue a declaration of invasion, finish President Trump's wall, blow up the cartel's drug tunnels and surveillance drones, and deploy the Arizona National Guard to stop illegals from entering.
Between anti-American history that's being taught, inappropriate sex education, and the racist critical race theory, or as I like to refer to it all, woke curriculum, it is teaching our children hatred. It's time to take a sledgehammer to the mainstream media's lies and propaganda.
During Pride Month, Lake tweeted, "They kicked God out of schools and welcomed the drag queens. They took down our flag and replaced it with the rainbow."
Katie Hobbs thinks there are 47 different genders. Why don't you go out and try to milk a bull and tell me how that goes?
GOP strategists say she's taking Trump's message and morphing it into her own.
You can call me Trump in a dress any day.
No! No! Why did she say that? Now I'm picturing it, Trump in a dress. I didn't want that image in my head. I can see it now. The balls are just dangling in the breeze. They look like two tiny mandarins. Oh, and each one has a comb over. Why did she say that? Why? But yeah, as you can see, Kari Lake is full-on MAGA-rific. She hates illegal immigrants, drag queens, and the mainstream media. I mean, did you see how she just smashed the shit out of those TVs? Which for some reason are all from 30 years ago? No, really, why are those TVs so old? What, is her whole campaign just an excuse to clean out her garage? Big government is just like this lawnmower that I no longer need. Yeah! Also, for the record, if you disagree with what you see on one channel, you don't have to sledgehammer the whole TV. You can just change the channel to something different. We have that technology now. It's the future. Now, if you've only been following her for this election, you might think she's your standard right-wing Republican. You know, MAGA this, hang Mike Pence that, normal stuff. But what makes Kari Lake's story fascinating is not who she is, but who she used to be.
Kari Lake used to be known in Arizona as a charismatic newscaster.
He's a lion, hear him roar.
A staple on Phoenix TVs for more than 2 decades.
Just over a decade ago, she was an Obama donor. Her friends described her as liberal, and yet you saw her shift slowly and gradual over the last decade.
In 2015, several of her friends say she found Trump to be funny and defended his crassness. She began spreading internet conspiracy theories.
You can take the hydroxychloroquine as a preventative.
Although Lake has criticized drag queens, she was friends with a popular local drag queen for 20 years and often went to his drag shows.
Yeah, believe it or not, Kari Lake went from being a popular local newscaster to hating the media. She was personal friends with a drag queen, and now she says that they're a danger to children. Plus, she was a donor to Barack Obama's campaign, a donor. And now she rolls with the guy who thinks Obama isn't even American. Like, I've heard of people being open to change, but this is almost not the same person. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if we found out that the real Kari Lake is locked up in a basement somewhere while this MAGA alien pretends to be her. Because this is a bigger transformation than the drag queens that she suddenly hates. Which, by the way, is particularly shitty. it's already horrible to turn on any friend, but betraying the one who taught you how to get your contouring on point, that is unforgivable. And you know, over the past few years, this seems to have happened to a lot of people. Like everywhere. Everyone has a story about this. They used to be normal, living a chilled life. But then they clicked on the wrong Facebook post. Or they got sucked in by a few YouTube videos. And the next thing you know, they believe the Care Bears are actually a democratic sex cult that's going to penetrate your children with rainbows. And while she sounds just like Trump on most issues, there's one thing Kari Lake has in common with Trump that is especially dangerous. And I'm not talking about a friendship bracelet with Kim Jong-un. No. I'm talking about her refusal to take an election L.
Anybody who was involved in that corrupt, shady, shoddy election of 2020, lock them up. No more stolen elections. We have this illegitimate President Biden. We will no longer accept rigged elections. Who's with me on that?
You've said that you think Trump won Arizona in 2020. Do you still believe that?
I believe Biden is the president just like OJ is innocent. The system is corrupt.
In Arizona, the Republican candidate for governor is refusing to say whether she'll accept the results of the upcoming election if she loses.
Will you accept the results of your election in November?
I'm going to win the election and I will accept that result.
If you lose, will you accept that?
I'm going to win the election and I will accept that result.
I'm going to win the election and I will accept that result. I'm going to win the election and I will accept that result. You realize, thanks to Trump, every Republican running for office now is just like a whiny little kid who refuses to lose a board game. All right? They used to be like, we are the party of personal responsibility. And it's like, well, it looks like you lost the election. Do you take responsibility for that? It's not my fault. It was stolen. I'm the governor. I am. Why? And by the way, it's ridiculous to compare Trump's election loss to OJ's murders, right? I mean, for one thing, OJ had a much better legal team, and also that was the system doing its thing. But maybe you think Kari Lake's election denials don't concern you. You know, maybe you're thinking, hey, I don't live in Arizona, Trevor. The only issue that affects me there is whether the iced tea stays at 99 cents. But you'd be wrong. Because you see, Arizona isn't just where your aunt gets all her turquoise jewelry. No, it's also a key swing state that helped push Joe Biden over the top in 2020. And if Kari Lake becomes governor, she could have the final say over who wins it in 2024. And it doesn't sound like she's going to be shy about getting the result that she wants.
In the last 24 hours, you said the 2020 election was stolen. Would you have certified Arizona's results?
Hell no.
In 2024, would you be willing to put the country into position potentially of a constitutional crisis by not certifying Arizona's results?
In 2024?
If you were governor, that would come down to you.
Let me ask you, Vaughn. Would you certify a crooked, corrupt election? Would you certify a crooked, corrupt election? Just to make peace? Yes? No? That's not how I operate.
Oof. You know things aren't looking good when the future of your democracy is being decided in a Home Depot parking lot. But just think about it. Think about what Kari Lake is saying. She's saying that if the election in 2024 is stolen for Biden, the same way the last election was stolen for Biden, then she's not going to approve the results. And that would be chaos. That could throw America into a constitutional crisis like it's never seen before. Who knows? Maybe even another civil war, which is bullshit. Think about it. Some local newscaster gets way into Trump fan fiction, and now I've got to grow out mutton chops? Huh? I mean, can I pull it off? Yeah, but it's got to be for the right reasons. And I know you might be saying, oh, relax. Trump tried to do a coup last time and it didn't work. Yeah. The only reason it didn't work is because there were various Republicans in key positions who didn't go along with it. But if those people get replaced by people like Kari Lake, it's a whole different story, because you see, you don't need to storm the Capitol when your friends have the keys. A new study sponsored by the National Institutes of Health has found that kids who play video games for at least 3 hours a day have better memory and impulse control than non-gamers. Yeah. And I'm not the kind of person who would say, "I told you so" to my mom because she could still whip my ass, but I told you so. Yeah. She's not, okay. Just making sure she's not behind me. But yeah, it turns out gamers have great impulse control. So the next time a teenager calls you the N-word in a game of Call of Duty, he really thought it through. In travel news, Virgin Australia has announced that for the next 6 months, anyone who selects a middle seat will be automatically entered into a lottery with more than $230,000 worth of prizes up for grabs. Yeah, and here's my first question. Is one of the prizes an aisle seat? Because, I mean, that's the only way I'm ever selecting a middle seat on a plane. Plus, winning the lottery makes it worse. Now I'm in the middle seat and the aisle and window seats are looking to rob my ass. Just like, well, if it isn't Mr. Jackpot, leave me alone. Oh, here's one of the strangest human interest stories I've ever heard. A hermit known as the world's dirtiest man, right? Actually known as that, has died at the age of 94. But get this, just a few months after bathing for the first time in 60 years. Which is a real lesson here, guys. Don't try anything new because it will kill you. It will. Oh, and more importantly, congratulations to the new world's dirtiest man, Steve Bannon. Well done. All right, let's move on to some of the biggest stories of the day. Starting once again with the midterms. You know, that time of the year when your baby is at the highest risk of being kissed by Ted Cruz. There was a major debate last night that could change everything. And we'll tell you all about it in our ongoing coverage of Vote Demic 2022. The big question leading up to Election Day right now is, who will control the Senate when the dust settles? And with so many close races around the country, it could still go either way. But a pivotal moment may have occurred last night at a debate in Pennsylvania. On one side of this neck-and-neck race, you have Democrat John Fetterman, lieutenant governor and bouncer on the sets of Jerry Springer. And on the Republican side, you have Dr. Oz, not to be confused with the Wizard of Oz, who also lived in a mansion that wasn't in Pennsylvania. Now, after securing the Republican nomination, Dr. Oz has been trying to distance himself from the MAGA side of the force and reposition himself as a bipartisan voice of reason to try and scoop up all the centrist voters on Election Day. You know, he's basically doing that TikTok thing where you flip your hair down and then when you come up, you act like you suddenly didn't want to hang Mike Pence. You know that thing? But here's the thing. Being pro-Trump and pro-reasonable is a lot harder than people think, which was apparent when Dr. Oz had to explain his position on abortion.
Should abortion be banned in America? 60 seconds.
There should not be involvement from the federal government in how states decide their abortion decisions. As a physician, I've been in the room when there's some difficult conversations happening. I don't want the federal government involved with that at all. I want women, doctors, local political leaders, letting the democracy that's always allowed our nation to thrive to put the best ideas forward so states can decide for themselves.
Oh yeah, that's right. Dr. Oz said abortion rights should be decided by women and their doctors and local political leaders. Which was pretty slick, right? I like how he did it, because he started that sentence like he was on the side of women. And then he snuck in the politicians at the end, like a teenager buying condoms at a gas station. He was like, oh, let me get those Cheetos and the root beer, and can I get the Trojan condom, please? We're gonna get this at the back. I mean, let's be honest, if you're pro-choice, what Dr. Oz is suggesting is bullshit, right? I think we can all agree. There is only one politician who should have a say in your abortion, and that's Herschel Walker, because it's his. It's his. It's probably his. Ladies, check. They're all his. Now, unfortunately, the Democrats couldn't exactly take a victory lap after Dr. Oz's performance at the debate because it was their own guy who was getting most of the attention.
Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman started off the hour-long debate assuring voters he's still capable of doing the job of senator 5 months after having a stroke.
Let's also talk about the elephant in the room. I had a stroke. He's never let me forget that. I might miss some words during this debate, mush 2 words together, but it knocked me down, but I'm going to keep coming back up.
Fetterman's use of a closed captioning device during the debate, where he read questions in real time on a screen above the moderators, sparked debate on social media, with some observers seeing a strong performance amid recovery, while others cast him as unsteady.
Fetterman especially lost his footing on the subject of fracking when questioned about a 2018 interview where he said he would never support the industry versus his current position supporting fracking.
I do support fracking, and I support fracking, and I stand and I do support fracking.
You know what's interesting to see is how people have reacted to this clip. You know, because on the one hand, obviously that was a part of the debate that tripped him up because he has had a shaky record on whether he's for or against the fracking. But also, beyond that, people were wondering about the stroke. And it was interesting to see, if people support him, they're seeing a guy who's overcoming a temporary disability. But then the people who are against him see a guy who's not mentally fit to be senator. And I guess because of polarization, it's like that with everything these days. You know, everyone's seeing the world from two different sides. Like, if you're a diehard Christmas lover, you hate the Grinch. But if you don't like Christmas, then yeah, he's extremely f***able and you'd smash. Everything is subjective. Everything. Look at that mouth. And I personally feel bad for John Fetterman, though, because he had a stroke, and on top of that, after the debate, Dr. Oz tried to sell him a supplement that would cure him for $59.99. You know, if you ask me, I don't know why Fetterman ever admitted to having a stroke. This is American politics. You know, he could have just done whatever he wanted, right? He's running for the Senate of Pennsylvania. He could have just showed up to the debate and be like, sorry for my words, everyone, I'm drunk off my ass. The entire state would have been like, hell yeah, man, same here, go Phillies, yeah! I love this guy, woo! But the truth is, Fetterman's limitations right now are just something voters will have to consider when they make their choice. Like, maybe they don't care whether Fetterman is capable of debating. Maybe voters prefer his policies. Or maybe they just want a senator who can block the door the next time it's getting stormed by rioters. That could be very useful. It's all up to them. Anyway, let's move on and talk about natural disasters. Because no matter where you live, they could happen to you. 1 minute you're buying groceries, then an earthquake hits, and boom, you're buried alive. Or you're hiking. Suddenly, an avalanche hits. Boom! You're buried alive. Or you're at home watching TV. A tornado hits, picks you up, rips off all your clothes, then throws you through your neighbor's window into the bedroom with his wife right as your neighbor walks in. He knocks you out with a shovel, and boom! Buries you alive. Happens all the time. All the time. Rest in peace, Uncle. But here's some good news. If you've been buried alive by a natural disaster, there's a new first responder who might be coming to your aid.
An unlikely hero is being trained to help search and rescue teams during natural disasters. We're talking about rats. The rodents are fitted with tiny high-tech backpacks carrying video cameras. The project, created by Belgian nonprofit, trains the rats to help first responders search for survivors among rubble and disaster zones. Once they locate the target, they pull a switch on their little vest that triggers a beep before heading back to the trainers to get a treat. And the leader of the project says rats are perfect for the job since they're small, curious, and prone to explore.
Oh my God, that's so adorable. Did you see the little backpack and the tiny camera? I want to be rescued by one of them. Oh, lock the doors. Let's blow the building up. You're going to thank me when there's a bunch of cute rats saving all of us. No, but for real though, this is incredible. This is incredible. Just take a moment to think of some of the things that rats can do, huh? They can sniff out landmines, right? They can detect tuberculosis. In New York City restaurants, they taste our food before we eat it. And yet, do we appreciate them? No! We're terrible to them. We're terrible to rats. We don't treat them with any respect. In fact, we've got to pray that if we are ever trapped under the rubble, we've really got to hope that the rat that comes to rescue us doesn't hold a grudge.
Well, if it isn't the guy who tested that toxic makeup on my cousin. Oh, look, you can't move your arms. Oh, they worked fine when you were putting out all those traps, though, didn't they, huh? Bet you wish you hadn't appropriated my culture for your Chuck E. Cheese now, huh? Yeah, why don't you rescue yourself, you little bitch? I'm gonna go poop in a Cheerios box. Bye!
Okay. I just realized at some point my mom's gonna be like, what do you do at your job? I'm like, don't worry. All right, finally, here's a really fun story from the world of higher education. You know, universities are always doing the utmost to try and stop students from cheating. And for good reason, You don't want students to cheat, right? Because you don't want someone cheating their way through engineering and then one day building a bridge. All right? Or what if someone cheats their way through 14th century Italian poetry? I don't even need to tell you the chaos that would unleash on society. But one professor in the Philippines is going viral for how she decided to stop cheating in her class.
The Washington Post says a Philippines college professor asked her students to wear anti-cheating hats for a midterm exam, and they went all out. The students showed up for their mechanical engineering test this month wearing all sorts of designs on their heads. Photos of the students in their headgear went viral, though, on local news.
All right, I don't know who this professor is, but that's genius, right? I love that. No, because instead of just telling kids not to cheat, obstruct their field of vision. Because most of the time, teachers can't actually stop anyone from cheating. All right? The best they can do is walk up and down the aisles like a pigeon looking for pieces of bread, you know? They just do that thing. Hey. I like the system. It helps the students focus, and it removes the temptation. Because let's be honest, it's temptation. Most of the time, cheating is a spur of the moment thing, right? You don't go into the test intending to cheat. What happens is you realize you know none of the answers. And then you notice out of the corner of your eye that Angie's flying. And now, if you know that you're probably wrong, why would you just stick with your wrong answers, right? In a real-world situation, we want to encourage people to go with whoever has the best ideas. It's not cheating. It's called having an open mind, people. You've got to explore your opportunities. That's why my uncle was in his neighbor's bedroom's wife with the... Let's kick things off with the war in Ukraine, where Ukrainian forces are continuing to make gains on the ground against Russia. And Russia is continuing to make gains in scaring the shit out of everybody.
Tonight, Vladimir Putin personally overseeing Moscow's first major nuclear drills since he invaded Ukraine, simulating a massive nuclear strike. And for the first time, Putin issuing an ominous and unfounded warning that Ukraine plans to blow up a dirty bomb laced with radioactive material in its own territory. Western allies warning Russia could use such an event as a false flag to blame Ukraine for an attack that Moscow carries out itself.
A dirty bomb is not a nuclear bomb and would be less harmful. But by using conventional explosives to spread radioactive material, it's an effective weapon of terror.
Yeah, that's right. Russia might be gearing up to use a dirty bomb, which is a bomb that spreads radioactive material, not a regular bomb that's into kinky shit like you were thinking. Not me. That's what you were thinking when you heard that. And right now, Putin is saying that Ukraine is planning to use a dirty bomb on themselves. But everyone can see through this. We know it's just a cover so that Putin has an excuse to use one on them. It's so transparent. It's like a kid going, just so you know, Mom, I heard that Ukraine is going to steal all the Halloween candy before you can hand it out next week. So if Halloween candy goes missing, you know who to blame. And by the way, please don't buy Raisinets. Ukraine doesn't like those ones. But transparent or not, this is pretty terrifying. And not just for Ukraine. Does Russia think these things through? You're on the same border. Think about how everything's gone wrong. Look at how poorly Russia's entire invasion has gone. Huh? Dropping a dirty bomb will probably end up backfiring on Putin. He's going to be there in his war room like, oh shit, the radiation gave all Ukrainian soldiers laser eyes. That's so cool. What about our soldiers? Did they get powers too, General? It's like, yes, Mr. President, our men can't stop pooping. Not as cool. Now, if we had more time, we could talk about how Russia is also now threatening to shoot down American satellites that are helping with the Ukrainian war effort, which would be bad news for everybody except Space Force because they finally have something to do. But we don't have the time for that. Because while Russia is planning shady shit in Ukraine, China is already doing shady shit all over the world.
The Dutch Foreign Ministry is investigating claims that China is operating at least 2 unofficial police stations in the Netherlands, which would breach diplomatic protocol.
According to the allegations detailed in this report, Beijing has been operating underground, undeclared policing units to carry out persuasion operations aimed at coercing those suspected of speaking out against the Chinese regime to return home.
But what's happening in the Netherlands might just be the tip of the iceberg. The Spanish NGO Safeguard Defenders says it's uncovered more than 50 unofficial police stations around the world. It's found outposts in at least 21 countries, including the UK, the US, and many parts of Europe.
Okay, if this is true, this is terrifying. Can you imagine? China has a secret police force in other countries where they harass and intimidate Chinese dissidents who are living abroad. And then they try and convince them to move back to China. How does that even work? Huh? What, are agents just grabbing Chinese people abroad like, hey, we've seen the crap you talk about China. You say one more thing about China and China will destroy you. You better shut up about China, you hear me? Oh, and by the way, would you like to move back to China? We miss you. It's a great place. We've got WeChat now. Now, China claims these offices are not secret police stations. They're just used for administrative purposes, like giving people driver's licenses and stuff. But if that's true, why are they keeping them all secret? Huh? You don't need to be shady if you're just doing paperwork. Yeah, the DMV lady is never like, oh, you need to renew your passport. Be at this parking lot at 0500 hours. Tell the man in the green jacket that the sun shines in November. He'll give you a briefcase with your new passport and a gun. Use the gun to kill him. And if you don't like your picture, come back and we'll retake it, okay? Now, if we had time, we could talk more about how China is increasingly throwing its weight around the world. Or we could figure out the best way to protect ourselves from Chinese influence and surveillance. I mean, maybe we can find the answer on TikTok, but we don't have the time for that. Because while China is spreading around the world in secret, there's an even bigger superpower who just announced her plan to dominate the globe.
Fans of superstar singer Rihanna have been clamoring for new music from her for years, and now it appears their wait is almost over. Rihanna shared a 15-second teaser on Twitter of her new single titled Lift Me Up. It's for the upcoming Black Panther movie, Wakanda Forever. This marks Rihanna's first single as a lead artist in 6 long years for her fans.
Oh, yeah! Thank you. Thank you, Jesus. Rihanna's releasing new music. And on top of that, her song is going to be part of the new Black Panther movie. Are you kidding me? Oh, man, that's going to be so great. I mean, it's going to be great for us. It won't be great for the Wakandans because it's going to be hard to concentrate on fighting the bad guys when a Rihanna song starts playing. You know, it's going to be like, it's time to defend our Oh, Shuri, are you hearing this right now, huh? Are you hearing this? Because you understand how big this is? Rihanna plus Black Panther. What? I haven't experienced this much black joy since that time Obama featured on that Cardi B track. Oh, man. Man, it was just like a whap, whap, whap. That's right. I'll tell you what makes my pussy wet. Voting. Vote. Everybody vote. A whap, whap, whap. I will say, you got to admit, Rihanna is keeping us thirsty, huh? We've been all begging. We've been begging for an album for 6 years. And now she's like, okay, I'll give you one song. And we're like, thank you, Rihanna. Thank you, just one song. Now, if we had the time, we could celebrate the release of this new track by listening to all of Rihanna's previous albums. But we don't have the time for that because while Rihanna is about to take over your Spotify, another billionaire is taking over your tweets.
One day before he's expected to officially take over Twitter, Elon Musk walked back his previous promise to remove most moderation on the site, reassuring advertisers that it would not become a free-for-all hellscape where anything can be said with no consequences. Musk also visited Twitter's offices carrying a kitchen sink, tweeting, "Entering Twitter HQ, let that sink in."
Oh, get it? Let that sink in. I know a lot of people think that was corny, but I think once you have 87 children, you're allowed to make dad jokes. You can do it. It's fun. Let that sink in. What I want to know is, where did he get that sink? No, I mean, it works for the joke, but where did he get the sink? Right? Is it just the one he ripped out of the wall when the judge told him he had to buy Twitter? Ah! If anything, Elon is the right billionaire to make this joke. You know, because if Jeff Bezos walked into Amazon with a sink, his employees would be like, "Oh wow, we're finally getting a restroom." And he's like, "No, go away, go away." And as for that statement, you know, to the advertisers that Elon sent, I will say it's interesting to see Elon go from the free speech cowboy of the West to pandering to the advertisers and saying Twitter will be a safe space for your advertising dollars. Yeah, the man has owned Twitter for 1 minute and already he's like, free speech is great, but you know what else is great? Money, yeah. Honestly, it's embarrassing. Yeah. Not even 1 day of owning Twitter. And Elon is already caving into the advertisers, folding like a tortilla around a Crunch Wrap Supreme filled with carne asada steak. Available only at Taco Bell. What a shill. What a shameless shill. Now, if we had more time, we could get into how Twitter can try to stay relevant in the era of TikTok, or how funny it would be if everyone stopped using Twitter and Elon Musk just straight up lost $44 billion. But we don't have the time for any of that, because while Twitter is entering a new phase, its top rival just got some very bad news of its own.
Meta, the parent company of Facebook, reported earnings that disappointed Wall Street in a big way. The stock plunging more than 20% after the company revealed that it expects its losses associated with building the metaverse to keep growing.
Meta has already lost a staggering $9.4 billion on the metaverse so far this year. But Zuckerberg is vowing to stay the course.
Look, I get that a lot of people might disagree with this investment. But people are going to look back on decades from now and talk about the importance of the work that was done here.
Not a lot of sympathy for Zuckerberg, but the wealth destruction across the board here, remarkable. From his peak last year, Zuckerberg is down about $95 billion. He used to be the third richest person in the world. After today, he could fall to 26 or 27.
26th or 27th richest person in the world. Disgusting. Now what can you buy? Like everything? Yeah, thanks to his investments in the metaverse, Mark Zuckerberg has lost $95 billion in his personal wealth. If the man was capable of feeling human emotion right now, he'd be stressed as hell. Because keep in mind, once you fall out of the top 10, you no longer get to go to the VIP area at the Illuminati orgy. No. You're in general admission. It's a terrible view. You can't even see the virgin goat sacrifice. What happened? Did it happen yet? Did it happen? It's actually a goat that's a virgin sacrificing something else. It's weird. Now, before you feel sorry for Zuckerberg, remember, it's not all bad for him. Yes, he's down $95 billion in the real world, but in the metaverse, he's still worth 10 trillion Zuck-bucks. Oh, yeah. And I will say kudos to Mark. Kudos, Mark Zuckerberg. A lot of people have been talking about taking down big tech for a while, but he's the only one with the balls to do it to his own company. Be the change you want to see in the world. Before we go, I wanted to remind you that peaceful protesters in Iran are risking their lives to be heard right now. The Center for Human Rights in Iran is helping to bring their voices to the international stage, and it provides legal aid for political prisoners and victims of violence. So, if you want to help them in this work, then please follow the link below.